The room was a cathedral of glass and steel, its sleek walls reflecting the ambition of Chicago's corporate elite. At its center sat Clara Hensley, her hands folded tightly in her lap, her faded cotton dress a stark contrast to the polished mahogany table. She was 24, with sun-freckled cheeks and eyes that held the quiet resilience of someone who'd spent her life coaxing crops from stubborn Iowa soil. This was her first job interview in the city, and the weight of it pressed against her chest like a stone. Across the table, Victor Langston, CEO of Langston Enterprises, leaned back in his chair, his tailored suit gleaming under the fluorescent lights. His reputation preceded him, a self-made millionaire who'd clawed his way from nothing to everything, a man who valued results over sentiment. His assistant, a sharp-eyed woman named Miss Carver, sat beside him, her pen poised over a notepad. Two other executives flanked them, their faces unreadable. "So, Miss Hensley," Victor began, his voice smooth but edged with condescension, "you're a farmer's daughter, applying to be my junior project coordinator. Tell me, what makes you think you belong in a place like this?" He gestured to the gleaming office, his smirk suggesting she was as out of place as a tractor in a boardroom. Clara swallowed, her throat dry. "I've worked hard my whole life, sir. I've managed budgets, coordinated harvests, and solved problems under pressure. I learned fast, and I'm not afraid of challenges." Victor chuckled, a sound that sent a chill through the room. "Budgets? For what? Corn? This isn't a barnyard, sweetheart. This is Langston Enterprises. We don't plant seeds. We close multi-million-dollar deals." Ms. Carver's lips twitched, and the other executives exchanged glances. Clara's cheeks burned, but she held her gaze steady, her father's words echoing in her mind. "Never let anyone make you feel small, Clara. You're stronger than they know." She took a breath. "With respect, Mr. Langston, farming isn't just planting seeds. It's strategy, timing, and heart. I've balanced books for a family farm through droughts and floods. I've negotiated with suppliers who thought they could cheat us because we're just farmers. I know how to build something from nothing, and I think that's what your company needs." Victor's smirk faded slightly, but he waved a hand dismissively. "Pretty words, but let's be real. You've got no degree, no corporate experience. Why should I hire you over the Ivy League graduates piling up in my inbox?" The room fell silent, the air thick with expectation. Clara's fingers tightened around the worn strap of her bag, where a small, folded photograph was tucked inside, a reminder of why she was here. She could have retreated, could have let the weight of his words crush her, but something inside her stirred, a quiet fire kindled by years of grit and grace. "Mr. Langston," she said, her voice steady but soft, "I don't have a fancy degree, but I have something else. I know what it means to care about the people behind the numbers. My father taught me that success isn't just profit, it's what you do with it. I came here because I believe in your company's mission to rebuild communities, not just skyscrapers. I want to help you make a difference, not just a dollar." Victor leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "A difference? This is business, not a charity. What could a girl like you possibly know about impact?" Clara hesitated, then reached into her bag. Her fingers brushed the photograph, and she made a choice. "Can I share something personal?" she asked. Victor raised an eyebrow but nodded. She placed the photograph on the table, a faded image of a small, weathered farmhouse, its porch sagging but surrounded by vibrant wildflowers. "This is my home," she said. 2 years ago, a tornado tore through our county. It destroyed half our farm and most of our neighbors. We had nothing left, no crops, no savings. But my father didn't give up. He rallied our community, organized volunteers, and rebuilt not just our farm but 3 others. He didn't have much, but he gave everything." She paused, her voice catching. "Last year, he got sick. Cancer. We couldn't afford treatment, so I started working odd jobs, anything to keep him going. He's still fighting, and I'm here because I need this job to help him. But more than that, I'm here because I know what it's like to lose everything and still find a way to give. If you hire me, I'll bring that same heart to your team. I'll work harder than anyone, because for me, it's not just a job, it's a chance to make things better." The room was silent, the kind of silence that hums with unspoken truths. Miss Carver's pen had stopped moving. The executives stared at the photograph, their faces softening. Victor's expression was unreadable, but his eyes lingered on the image of the farmhouse, something flickering in their depths. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "You think a sob story will get you hired? I've heard 100 like it. Life's tough, Miss Hensley. Why should I care about your father's cancer or your little farm?" Clara's heart sank, but she didn't flinch. "You don't have to care, sir. I'm not asking for pity. I'm asking for a chance to prove what I can do. If you don't see value in that, I'll find somewhere that does." The silence returned, heavier this time. Miss Carver cleared her throat, glancing at Victor. "Sir, perhaps we should." Victor held up a hand, cutting her off. He leaned back, studying Clara as if seeing her for the first time. Then, slowly, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small, worn wallet. From it, he extracted a photograph of his own, a grainy image of a young boy in overalls, standing in front of a dilapidated trailer. "This," he said quietly, "is where I grew up. A trailer park in Ohio. My mother worked 3 jobs to keep us fed. When I was 15, she got sick, too. I couldn't save her." His voice wavered, just for a moment, before hardening again. "I built this company to prove I was more than that kid in the trailer. But maybe I forgot what got me here." He slid the photograph back into his wallet, his eyes meeting Clara's. "You remind me of her, my mother. She had that same fire. I mocked you because I thought you were naive, but maybe I'm the one who's lost sight of things." The room seemed to hold its breath. Victor stood, his chair scraping softly against the floor. "Miss Carver, cancel my afternoon. I need to think. Miss Hensley, you're hired, not because of your story, but because you've got guts and heart, and I think we need both." Clara blinked, her breath catching. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. But Victor wasn't done. He reached into his desk, pulled out a checkbook, and scribbled quickly. He slid the check across the table. "This is for your father's treatment. No strings attached. Just do good with it." Clara stared at the check, the number blurring through tears. $50,000. Her hands trembled as she looked up at Victor, who was already turning away, as if embarrassed by his own gesture. "Why?" she asked softly. He paused, his back to her. "Because someone should have helped my mother. And because you reminded me that success isn't just about winning, it's about lifting others up." Clara left the office that day with more than a job. She carried a spark of hope, not just for her father, but for a world where kindness could still break through. Months later, as she stood beside her father, now in remission, at a community center funded by Langston Enterprises, she saw Victor in the crowd, his eyes softer, his smile genuine. And she knew, one small act of courage, one moment of shared humanity, could change everything. For in the end, it's not the wealth we amass or the titles we hold, it's the hearts we touch, the lives we lift, that make us truly rich.